Hey guys, Daniel Davis Offroad here. Today we're going to be working on a Toyota Tundra, giving you some tips and tricks of the trade on how to make the larger and offset tire and wheel fit with your lift. Whether you have a 6-inch kit, a leveling kit, a 3-inch kit, so on and so on, larger tires and wheels with offset will rub behind the front bumper in the fender well area and also on the rear body mount and fender well area. So I'm getting ready to show you how we do it here for more of a moderate setup. This is a 10-inch wide wheel, 35-inch tire on a 6-inch lift, but this same trim job is going to work great for a leveling kit with 295s on a factory wheel or a slight offset wheel, and the same thing to put 35s on like a 9-inch wide wheel with a 4-inch kit. So this same job works well all the way across the board and will really help most of you guys out watching this. For you guys that are running 12 and 14-inch wide wheels or much more aggressive width tires, I'm going to do a video on how to do a little bit farther trim, bumper shim, body mount modification, so stay tuned for that. But right now we're going to jump into this thing. I'm going to show you how to do the front and the rear step by step so you can do it yourself. For the front inner fender well bumper area, there's a couple of 10mm screws there, and then a 12mm and 12mm bolt as well. We need to remove all these bolts so we can modify this bottom lip of the inner fender and get it tucked inside of the actual metal bumper. Alright, now that those are off, you can move this inner fender well out the way. There's a bracket right here with a plastic clip. If you pull it like that, it pops the plastic clip out. We will not be reusing this. The next step is we're going to make a cut from this corner right on the edge all the way down to the step. Once you hit this step, stop the cut, turn 90 and cut straight out the front. You also need to trim this little wing off right here. Alright, next step is we're going to cut through and make this an opening versus just an oval hole. Once the cut is made through, we'll shave this wing and this wing off. Alright, so that's nice and smooth now. So we'll clean this edge up with a razor blade to get all the little fuzzies off, and then we'll go ahead and tuck this thing in the front bumper. The next step is going to be to tuck this edge inside of the metal bumper right here. So the way that I do this is I pull out right here and I bend that tab in right there with my finger and just roll it in. You see that it holds itself in nicely with the chrome edge of the bumper. I think this looks much more like factory than the plastic coming around the bottom of the metal bumper, personally. So you'll also see that underneath here, this flap needs to be tucked inside the metal bumper. It's got a bracket that the bolt goes into, and then it'll have the chrome metal bumper. So you want to get this plastic in between the bracket and the metal bumper, and then when you put the bolt in, it'll pinch it tight and hold it in place, giving you that much more tire clearance. So now you'll see, once you're at this point, that you can see the threaded hole to put this bolt back through, but you won't be able to see this threaded hole because the plastic is now covering it. So we're going to put this bolt back in while pushing forward, and then we'll push forward, drill a new hole in the plastic, and put this bolt in, which will hold all this forward for the tire clearance. Very important. Over the years, I found out that with these bolts being in the front bumper, they're typically rusty, not in the best shape. I always put a little anti-seize or a little grease on these bolts before they go back in, because even if you start them perfectly, not a cross thread or anything like that, they have a tendency to try to gall it up on you. Another little tip, when you're drilling this hole, use a pretty decent sized drill bit, like a 3/8 or bigger. That way the drill bit doesn't try to shoot through the threads and mess them up. A little bit bigger bit just cuts through the plastic and then stops there. So knock that forward as far as that'll go. And there you have it. The fender well is moved forward quite a bit from factory. No loose hinges down here for it to catch. And that should give it enough clearance to run this tire and wheel package. So for whatever reason, Toyota thought it'd be a great idea to put this huge body mount hanging off the frame and quite a bit of excess past the body mount bushing, which is not an issue when you have stock tires and wheels, but this is your biggest hindrance on Tundras, Tacomas, 4Runners, FJs. All of them have the same style body mount that hangs way out here. You'll see people do the whole cab mount chop where they cut the whole bracket off, relocate it back, and just catch the body mount, which we do that as well. But that's not for the novice backyard do-it-yourselfer. What I'm getting ready to show you can be done with some simple cut-off wheel grinders, and obviously a welder is the way that I'm going to do it when I stitch it all back up. But it doesn't technically have to be welded back up. It just is a much better finished product. So I'm going to mark a line right through this piece of metal right here, which is just a small wing brace, and then I'm going to mark a triangle or pizza cut shape spot right here in the corner. Once I cut this line, I'll move this piece up slightly, which will let me hit this and move this backwards, and that will close up the triangle shape right here. Once that closes up to a tight gap and this is overlapped, we make one weld seam here, one weld seam here. It moves this bottom corner, which is the most outboard piece, and it also moves this top side back and kind of lays it back at an angle, giving you just enough clearance for that one size too big tire that you shouldn't be running but really want to, or in this guy's case, a little bit wider tire and wheel package on a larger lift is still needed, so it doesn't catch the edge of the tire back here. So you can see the triangle cut right here, which is roughly about 1 inch tall by about 3/4 of an inch wide. And then you can see the line on the bottom of the body mount right there. I like to keep it about 3/4 to an inch off the front. That way you've got some room when this goes up for this to overlap as it comes back. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cut. See the notch cut out, and you can see that slit cut in the bottom of the body mount. So like I said, we're going to move this area up just by a couple small strikes, and now you can see that that overlaps each other. And now we're going to hit right here and right here to move this back, close that gap up. Now you can see that gap closed up and that metal overlaps. So I make one weld seam here and one weld seam down here. Smooth it all out, put some paint on it. It's just as strong as factory, and this whole corner is moved back. So now you can see one weld in that seam, one weld underneath. Another modification I do on the back side is once you remove your mud flaps from this area right here and remove the push pin, this inner fender well is just kind of flapping. You could put the pin right there, but there's a little bit left as far as room's concerned on tire clearance right here. So if you raise up, you'll see that they're typically full of leaves and dirt and mud and whatever else you find, and it's good to go ahead and clean this area out. But we go ahead and trim this across right here, tuck it inside the fender well, the actual fender, and then I just roll that fender back to hold it in. Gives you that much more room on this point right here and also get you cleaned out. Not my straightest cut. So as you can see, fender well tucked behind the fender laid back just a little bit to hold it in. It gives you quite a bit more room right there. All right guys, that's it for today. Like and subscribe. We'll keep on putting these videos out for you, show you more how-tos. See you next time.